Thanks for coming. I'm Dan Gurin with Civic Actions. We are a fiercely open and agile distributed digital agency that delight users of government services with the same kind of experience that they've come to expect from commercial apps. We've also done nonprofit work and some pro bono over the dozen or so years that we've been in the Drupal community. And recently we were tapped to develop a platform to organize dissenters and encourage them to divest from institutions that fund harmful projects, such as the Dakota Access Pipeline. And so that is the focus of this presentation. So you're probably familiar with the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, and they had, I guess, what we would call the real life resistance was there, kind of on the site. It was getting pretty cold there as winter started to set in, so more of the movement was moving online, and there was a feeling that we could get more participation that way anyway, because not everyone can just get up from what they're doing and actually travel out to the middle of the country and withstand the kinds of harsh elements that were there as well. So when we started the project, it was going to be divest from the banks, and so just kind of a more general approach to this whole tactic. And during the course of it, we changed it to Starve the Snake, which is more of a Native American kind of association that snakes have with violence and revenge in the Native American culture. And so we were doing this in partnership with the Youth Tribal Council. And so we were, had some people within that movement that were advising us on, some of the kind of the strategy to take on it. And, there are some other sites out there that do a similar thing. This site just focuses on the individual financing portion of it. So people like those of us in this room are listening to the presentation. Elsewhere, we probably have bank accounts, with some of these different institutions and possibly other financial investments. And the idea is, to really, take a look at where your money is and to put it in a place that doesn't support the kinds of projects that you don't want to see happening. So there are other sites that also have, focus on events and communities that divest, but this is really just for the individuals. And so once you get in, the main action that you can take as a user is to basically fill out this pledge form, and it has fields for your name, your zip code. We have also email, and then select for your bank, and that contains the banks that are participating in the Dakota Access Pipeline financing currently. And then you can also compose your own reason if you want. There's also choice to remain anonymous if you'd like, but we have the default set to public so that so that we can share that information on the site, and also share that information with the banks potentially. So after a pledge is made, what we really want people to do is tweet it out, and so we have a nice big tweet button available, and so this is an example of someone who has filled out the form and made it public. So basically, after they would do this, then they could tweet it out, and we'll look at what the tweet looks like later. But there are some other actions other than just the pledge. There's, if you're pulling your money out of this bank that you don't like, we have a feature to find a credit union within a certain area of where you are. And then also just some links to actual ethical banks and some more kind of other financial services, and just kind of a general guide to responsible financing and social investing, kind of things like that. So,
what site is this? Social action?
Our
Startthesnake.com.
yeah,
this is startthesnake.com.
Yeah, all the stuff that
Awesome.
I'm showing you.
Good.
I suppose I should have included that.
It wasn't hard to find.
Continuous improvement.
Yeah. And so the bank finder uses ibelong.org to help people find a good bank. I'd like to review some of the technologies that we used. Drupal's in there, of course. Also, some of the project management processes that we used to do it very quickly. Talk about what's going to be happening next, and then we can have a free and open discussion in Civic Action's tradition. But do feel free to interrupt me along the way. Don't want you to forget your questions, and there should be plenty of time. We'll hop right into the technologies. And so, of course, we use Drupal. We used, for hosting, we used Pantheon and Cloudflare for the CDN, Twitter for posting tweets, Facebook for doing posts on Facebook, and also sending and receiving email were the basic things that we were doing. So we went with Drupal 7. Our original goal was to launch this in just a couple of days, so we didn't want to be slowed down by some of the things with Drupal 8, how it's pretty new, and we're pretty much all really fast expert level at Drupal 7, so we decided to just do that. We didn't want to, spend the 2 days trying to figure out some little thing in Drupal 8. So we also use the Omega theme, which is nice, and we used Honeypot for validating forms. We just feel like that's a better user experience than having people have to fill out a CAPTCHA or clicking the I am not a robot checkbox. So I just kind of feel like a robot when I'm doing that. So Pantheon, really nice. You can just spin up sandbox for free on like the dev and test sites. It was really fast to get started. It has the version control integrated, so we, we'll typically use GitLab for hosting a repository, but we didn't even do that for this. We just used the integrated version control, and they have like a one-click for the basic auth, which is nice. So, while we were developing, it was behind a username, password, so those robots couldn't get to it. It also has a multi-dev, which is pretty cool. So, we had a handful of people working on it simultaneously. They could test their branches on these different environments, which they call multi-dev, before they get merged in. So that was really nice. And then there's
that's on Pantheon.
All this stuff. All this stuff is
For sure.
Yeah, I do not own stock in Pantheon, but
Oh, that's okay.
yeah, disclaimer. And it has this little status tab for if you do push up something to dev that's not right. There's a big red indicator if you mess something up. So it's pretty nice, and it allowed us to, I think, move very quickly too. Cloudflare is nice for the CDN. Basically a content delivery network. It takes a copy of the origin server, which would be Pantheon in this case, and copies it out to edge servers. So maybe there'd be one here in Florida, and maybe one in Seattle, and all around the world there would be these edge servers. So it'd be a lot faster. It caches things like assets like CSS and JavaScript, so it doesn't have to retrieve those files on each request. And it also does automatic minification, so it takes out extra white space that might just be hanging around in your files there. It also allows for HTTPS, so that's the secure socket layer. And we were not really sure if there were going to be people that would want to attack our site, just because there's a lot of money involved. So maybe people who were invested and wanted to be invested in the pipeline might not be big fans of what we're doing.
So
but
wouldn't they just boycott you as an organization as opposed to trying to do some sort of attack?
I suppose that's possible. It's unlikely that our organization would work with them.
In general?
Yeah.
We're pretty selective about who we
I
work with.
go straight for attacking your website.
Yeah.
If I were a bad guy, I'd be like,
Yeah.
let's shut that down.
Right. So either Cloudflare is working or nobody's tried to attack our site. We're not really sure. At least last time I checked.
Bear in mind, these people have a lot of money and resources, so.
They really do.
But, that's weird. So yeah, looks like I did some last minute edits on the slide here, but yeah. So
Was that after the party last night?
Yeah.
Always a good move.
Yeah.
So what does that say?
That's a good question. So, well, I can talk about it. It's basically this Twitter feature. So after the pledge, you click on the tweet button. The site composes a default tweet for you based on your bank, and
Yeah, and it's 3 characters over. That's kind of sad.
it is. When you
right now.
when you do
And
it,
it's Bank of America too.
okay.
I'll
So
post it to Slack and.
thank you for the feedback.
You're
We will.
Oh, I think it's because someone changed it to I've pledged, not I pledge.
Okay. I told them not to do that. So, yeah, so we're still gathering feedback and thanks for that. So we'll, that is one of the challenges, to keep this under the
144.
yes, under the character limit, especially with all the information that we want to include. So we include the our own Start the Snake hashtag, and then also these No Dapple and Divest Dapple hashtags to tie into those communities. But basically, there's I guess you can actually see the URL here. It's on the Twitter dev site where it talks about the tweet button parameters, and so you can that's how you can get these hashtags and the URL and the app mentions with those parameters. So I think that the main feature of the site is actually to be kind of a manual tweet bot, kind of maybe a simian tweet machine, like half human, half machine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will work on that slide for next time. So Facebook does a similar kind of thing, but they don't allow you to compose the default message on Facebook. Apparently, Facebook wants their users to compose their own messages. But you can, using the Open Graph protocol, define the image and the text that goes along with that, and the URL. So like the title and description here. And that can be done with pretty easily with the meta tag module. It's a contrib module. It's also really good for search engine optimization, but it makes it easy on a per page basis to define what these parameters are going to be in the Open Graph protocol, which Facebook uses. Some other social media use it also, like Nextdoor. Sometimes they talk about Open Graph as OG, and if you use Drupal all the time, like some of us, probably all of us, you might think that is organic groups, but it's not.
It's so confusing.
It's Open Graph. So try to unlearn OG, the meaning of OG.
Or just don't use it.
Right. Can't help myself. Okay, so for email, I guess if it was a few years ago when Google was still offering free. That's actually my next slide. So this is for sending an email. We use SendGrid. This is what Pantheon suggests you use for sending out large amounts of email. The setup was a little bit tricky at the time. I think it might be a little bit easier now, but so Composer Manager is a requirement, and also Terminus. So Composer Manager has some known issues, and Terminus is the in the command line for Pantheon. You can basically use your terminal on your local and kind of command line into Pantheon using this. So it starts out with a free trial. I think it's on like 40,000 emails a day or something like that. But basically, to set this up, you use Terminus on the development environment on Pantheon, you switch it into FTP mode and create the Sites All Vendors library that way, and then you commit that on development and push it up through Git to production. So, as I recall, the documentation didn't explicitly say that, but that seemed to work. So if you're trying to do something like that, do it like that. And this is the email hosting. So, like I said, Google doesn't offer Gmail for organizations for free anymore, so we use this Zoho email. It's free. It offers two-factor authentication, which we're pretty big fans of. If you went to Adam's security talk, you know that's one of the things to do. There are a couple of additional configuration items that we had to do just for the DNS to update the sender policy framework and the domain keys identified mail. So those need to be set up for mail to deliver. And this is so we can receive mail with the starvingsnake.com address. And that about does it for the technologies. As far as the processes that we use and the project management, we did Agile Kanban style of project management framework. We couldn't really do sprints because it was just so fast that it would have been like, I don't know, maybe 1-day sprints, which is arguably the same thing as Kanban, I don't know. So yeah, we just had the highest priority stuff up top, and we use some wireframe tools. And we're all remote, and the people that we were working with are all over the place as well, geographically speaking. And so we use for our communications Trello, Slack, and Google Hangouts. So our strategy, it started out where we were going to email the banks directly. We were thinking, that would be a good idea to just get them to...
That's cool.
Yeah, to
be aware of what the hell's going on.
Right. So, and then, we thought about that it would be really easy for our emails or the emails from people that were passed through us from people who visited the site to be either spam filtered or deleted or ignored by people who are on staff at the bank. Like, they don't really,
right.
It's not really their job to change the company policy based on a couple of emails. So we switched over to a kind of a social media focused strategy where there's this existing movement with no DAPL and divest DAPL, and it was really something that they can't ignore, or the banks could ignore, but it would be potentially at their loss, or at their they would be disincentivized to ignore it as much, because other people will be looking at it too. So there's kind of this marketing aspect to it, and we just thought that would have the most impact. So we use some wireframes that Balsamic is kind of the main technology, and it's really nice because we can quickly iterate on it and make these prototypes that since we didn't spend that much time on it, it's okay to just move things around and get ideas and get people on the same page. Kind of looking at the ideas, it takes a long time to describe things, and you might not say exactly how you're thinking, but when you actually put something down on paper, then it kind of forces you to get more specific with the visual ideas, and also allows us to focus on usability. You can collaborate using Balsamic with either My Balsamic, or there's a Google Drive integration. It's pretty nice. So Trello, also a great tool. We use this as our Kanban board, and so we have like a resources column at the beginning that contains all of our project information. It'll have like a launch checklist, and then we take things from basically like the ideas. It's like a high-level strategy, and we can move cards over to if they need specification. So that at that point it would be a user story, but maybe not quite ready for development. So those stories get groomed into the backlog, which means they're prioritized and ready to be worked on. And then we have an in progress column for what's under active development, so everyone can see what's going on with that. And then we do code review. That is basically when the branch is pushed up, and you can another developer can take a look at the changes that you've made and either approve or reject the specific changes. And then QA. I like to do a checklist of the steps for QA, just so someone can really easily be able to say if it is passing or not. And then done is the last column. We move it to production. You can mention people to notify them on Twitter. I actually get notified faster on my phone. Sorry, I meant to say Trello, I said Twitter. But I get Trello notifications like faster than anything else. So if you really want to contact me, do it through Trello. All right, Slack is, I'm sure most people have heard of Slack at this point, but it just allows us to work really, really well, somewhat asynchronously too. So, we don't have to schedule meetings and, take a bunch of time and cancel and reschedule and just, say what you're doing or what you need, and someone will get to you when they have the chance. Having a couple of different channels. So we'll have like one channel for development, for developers, kind of the technical details focus, and then another channel for strategy where we include our external partners on that. And that just makes it so that, people who are interested in kind of those two worlds don't necessarily have to sift through all of the nonsense that could be getting talked about as far as like just the technical jargon that the strategy people wouldn't really understand. So that's nice. And when we did have daily kind of stand-up meetings, I guess at least somewhat Scrum style, but So we would do that through Google Hangouts, and great free tool to use. It's got like keyboard shortcuts for muting and stuff like that. So you can do screen shares too, which is nice. And there's a little like side chat that it disappears when the Hangout ends. So if you're using that for chat, it might be better to use Slack, which will persist after the meeting is over. All right, and that is our process. Some of the things that are coming up next for this. So kind of, trying to take an iterative approach to this. We've gotten, a handful of emails from people who've had some comments about, where to do this or that. So we're, using that feedback to go back into our Trello backlog and make more stories for that so that we can improve. And we'll take the 3 characters over issue also. Thanks for
Great.
There's also we set a deadline of the end of March for this, and kind of more a generalized platform for doing things like this that aren't necessarily only for video code access pipelines. So there are other similar kinds of projects that we're trying to discourage. In addition to the feedback that we've gotten from users, there's also been just some news that's happened since we've built the site.
The entire city of Seattle divesting entirely from Wells Fargo?
Yeah, they did.
That's impressive.
It is. It's
I don't blame them.
right. Yeah, it's I guess we can't necessarily take credit for that, but it's something.
Nice though.
Yeah, it's something that has happened because we have been focusing on individuals, but there are some other sites that focus on communities and larger organizations, getting them to divest. I know there's a lot of talk of this and higher ed and other organizations to government. So this ABN AMRO was distancing themselves from the project. There's also an executive action that would allow the pipeline to move forward, and also Army Corps of Engineers approved the final easement for it to continue. So it does look like from a government regulation perspective that they would be free to move forward with this, assuming that the financing is in place. So this, really is kind of the last stand for this particular.
Apparently CalPERS just sent out a note about it too. Literally the 17th.
Okay.
They're that huge California pension system.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. The public
About
employees
the code
retirement.
access pipeline.
Okay. I can add a bullet point to that slide.
He
Yeah.
announced it has joined over 100 fellow investors asking major U.S. and international banks to back out of the access pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it seems like the West Coast is leading a lot of the charge here, and so I guess it's our hope that'll kind of spread throughout.
Spread east.
Yeah. So yeah, when we started this, there was talk of making really a divesting platform for other future threats and activism. It would also be possible to do this through like an installation profile that could be distributed and used for this kind of purpose. And actually, when I was traveling to Florida this week, our team did another site for with Rethink Media, which is one of our clients, and I guess they did this in 5 days, I'm told. It's unitedagainstmuslimban.com.
Nice.
And there are a few actions on this. This is just a kind of screenshot from the top of the homepage above the fold. But basically the actions on this are town hall attendance, call your Congress people, and you can host a postcard or a fundraising party, and then there's donations. Also, organizations that are involved with this and learning opportunities. So that's what happens when I go away for a week. And that is just about all I have for slides. I don't know if people have anything, questions, or
What's the overall goal of the site? Is it mainly to allow people to communicate out their pledge, or is there other things going on after they sign up that?
Yeah. So the deadline for that we set was for March 31st. So after that deadline, we would basically say, we would send messages to the banks of, these are the people that are taking their money out, and this is why. I think the last time I checked, we had about 200 pledges. So, it kind of the traffic seems to be a bit wavy. Kind of comes in bursts at certain times. So, but there are other organizations and other sites too that have, other people who have pledged to divest on those as well. So, I guess we'll see when the deadline comes, and even if we don't stop the pipeline, I think that it will, we'll still be sending the message and kind of getting this community together so that it can be stronger for whatever the next threat is. And I think that things are just kind of moving in this direction where people are going to have more of, be more empowered to, say what their money is going to go to support.
Do you have that list? Can you just whip it out on the website real quick and just throw it up there?
Yeah, I think so.
The banks. There we go.
The banks. So there were a couple that
Obviously, Wells Fargo.
there were a couple that divested already, but
Goldman Sachs, shocker.
yeah.
SunTrust, no less. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be, you know, your big corporate banks
Right.
are probably gonna be, so, you know, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to work with a smaller local bank, but,
We just started our foundation for the people for Gov
uh-huh,
through PNC, so
Uh-huh.
on Saturday we were signing all our paperwork. I guess I can go in and say, thanks for signing our paperwork, but you have until the 31st before we move all of our
Right.
thousands and thousands of dollars.
There you go.
yeah, that'd be cool.
That's my plan. Can't wait.
Yeah,
Right.
awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks. Any other last words?
Quick question about the multi-site and stuff. Are you guys looking to take this same, not same platform and just roll it out to other purposes, but having the same overall functionality?
It was, I guess we built some of the, like the content types to be flexible. So like we didn't make it bank, we made it company. So that it could be,
Anything.
yeah, it could be like a different kind of an institution. And all of those companies even aren't banks. So some of them are more like investing, but, yeah, we would need to do a little bit of work to generalize it, and just to put things into more of a distribution kind of architecture, because right now it is just a single site, and because we were working on it so quickly, we didn't take the time to, you know, to architect out that kind of multi-site distribution, you know, just putting things in the different folders and stuff like that. So. But yeah, it's one of the things that's on our, you know, long-term roadmap for it. And I'll be curious to see how they did with the Muslim band site, if they used any of our stuff. All right, well, thanks very much. If you want to get in touch, that's my contact information, and yeah, appreciate everyone coming and asking questions.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.